Hi! In the previous videos, we've learned that intercultural communication takes place when people draw from their cultural identity to understand other cultural identities and make sense of values, attitudes, relationships, among other things rooted in culture. We try to understand human experiences across diverse dialectics. In this video, we are going to explore the developmental model of intercultural sensitivity. Let's watch this video from Quipper.
An American tourist found himself lost in the bustling metropolis of Cebu. Though he was equipped with a map and his trusty smartphone to tell him the directions, he still could not seem to figure out how to go to his destination. So, he asked a Filipino vendor to help him where to go. To his surprise, the Filipino vendor gestured by puckering his lips. To the American, this gesture might mean a lot of things, and it definitely could not mean there. But he also noticed that as the vendor was doing this strange act, he was moving his head forward or from side to side to show that he was pointing towards something. With this, the American tourist realized that the Filipino vendor was actually pointing him toward the direction of his destination. From this experience, the American may realize that it might be a common practice for some Filipinos to point directions using their lips.
According to Bennett and Bennett, the developmental model of intercultural sensitivity has 6 stages. Stage 1, denial. The individual does not recognize cultural differences. An individual in the denial stage might be heard saying, "All cities are the same. They all have tall buildings, fast food chains, and coffee shops." Stage 2, defense. The individual starts to recognize cultural differences and is intimidated by them, resulting in either a superior view on own culture or an unjustified high regard for the new one. An individual in the defense stage might be heard saying, "This culture does not view life the way we do. Our culture is certainly better. Their ways are better than my own. I wish I were one of them." Stage 3, minimization. Although individuals see cultural differences, they bank more on the universality of ideas rather than on cultural differences. An individual in the minimization stage might be heard saying, "Once we see through the cultural differences, we really are just the same." Stage 4, acceptance. The individual begins to appreciate important cultural differences in behaviors and eventually in values. An individual in the acceptance stage must be heard saying, "These people and I have different values and experiences, and I think we can learn from one another." Stage 5, adaptation. The individual is very open to worldviews when accepting new perspectives. An individual in the adaptation stage might be heard saying, "To address our issue, I have to adjust my approach to consider both my own and my counterpart's background." Stage 6, integration. Individuals start to go beyond their own cultures and see themselves and their actions based on multifarious cultural viewpoints. An individual in the integration stage might be heard saying, "I can look at things from the perspective of various cultures." Can you spot the stages of intercultural sensitivity in this video?
Shannon and Mei Ling work in a multinational company in China. Because of their love for traveling, they easily became close friends. During Mei Ling's birthday, Shannon gifted her with a miniature Big Ben clock to remind her of their recent trip to London. Shannon knew that their London trip was by far the most memorable vacation they had, which is why she thought of giving Mei Ling a clock to remind her of that trip. A few days after giving the gift, Shannon felt that Mei Ling seemed distant and cold, so she decided to talk to her. "Hi, Mei Ling! How is your day going?"
It's good. Thank you for asking.
"Hey, I noticed that you've been acting a bit strange in the past few days. Did I do anything wrong?"
I thought you might not be aware of it, but I just felt offended when you gave me your gift.
"What about it?"
You see, Chinese people are not fond of receiving clocks as gifts. To us, it means that time is running out, or life and relationships can end.
What? I'm sorry, I was not aware of that.
I thought that you might not be aware of it, and that you were just trying to be nice. But I can't easily get over what happened.
Again, I'm sorry. You know what? Maybe you can tell me more about your culture so that I won't offend another person while I'm here.
Are you sure about that? Well, we have a lot of cultural practices that are different from yours. Do you have the whole day?
We'll see. Faye requested Ben to drop by her house and bring with him his class notes that she missed because she was sick for a week.
Good morning, Mrs. Martinez. I am Ben, Faye's classmate. She asked me to come over so I can share with her our class notes.
Hi, Ben. It's so kind of you to do that. Come in. Faye's in the living room.
Hi, Ben. Here are indoor slippers. You'll feel more comfortable with them.
Thanks, Faye. I'm sorry about that. We are not used to wearing indoor slippers at home.
It's fine. You're not the first to do that. Besides, I should have told you about that before you came over. Anyway, do you have your notes with you?
Yes. Where would you like to begin?
Outwood states that once you understand these stages, you may apply it to recognize communication behaviors which differ from your own, take into account what can influence these types of behaviors, and try to analyze how linguistic and cultural communities differ in terms of communication behavior and influencing factors. Now that we know this, let's talk about the characteristics of competent intercultural communicators. The World Bank identifies these traits that define a competent intercultural communicator: flexibility and the ability to tolerate high levels of uncertainty, reflectiveness or mindfulness, open-mindedness, sensitivity, adaptability, ability to engage in divergent thinking and systems level thinking, and politeness. To end this video, here are some tips to refrain from showing bias when talking to someone. Number 1, avoid stereotypes or the generalizations about a certain group. 2, challenge gender norms. Avoid using he or man to refer to a general group of people. 3, do not talk down on younger people and the elderly. 4, be sensitive to the religious practices of others. 5, be polite at all times. Do not belittle people you perceive to be on a lower social class than you. Achieving intercultural competence is easier said than done. We must first realize that this kind of competence isn't any one thing. Part of being competent is being able to assess new situations and adapt existing knowledge to new contexts. Physical location, your role, your life stage, religious or political belief, and whatnot all influence your competence. Sometimes we figure out what is expected of us in a given situation, but other times we may need to act in an unanticipated ways to meet the needs of a certain situation. Intercultural competence allows us to better cope with uncommon frameworks. Experiential learning and reflective practices will surely help.